Right, welcome to Bragging Rights episode. I genuinely have no idea because
27?
we had a week off.
28?
Maybe 27.
It feels about right.
Yeah. What? Don't get off my mobile phone.
No, I could have found out because it'll be on the WhatsApp group.
Oh, yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
True.
How are we all doing? Oh no, wait there. Whoa. Sponsored by Comsgaff. Recorded at Tribal. Before I forget.
Travel, not travel.
Tribal.
I
Not
think it's good that you always forget to say we're at the home of the pod because it feels like home. And you wouldn't say at normal home, would you? So
No,
it really
exactly.
feels like
Yeah.
it's part of
Like
us.
I don't answer my phone and go, "Oh yeah, it's Jimmy at my house." Like,
27.
yeah, 27. There you go. Episode actually 27.
Mi casa su casa.
I was right.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter anyway, does it?
No.
Yeah, how are we all doing? We feeling refreshed after a week off?
You might be. We haven't had a week off this week.
Of
No, I
recording.
mean, of podcast.
Of recording. Oh, God, yeah.
Yes, but no.
Why?
And the only reason is because I actually genuinely did miss it. Because I do like that we chat about the rugby. I know people don't maybe like our opinions or maybe my opinion sometimes.
Definitely not your opinions.
I've always said to anyone that I bump into when everyone says, "Oh, I'm a fan of the pod," or "I listen," or "I watch," and I always say the same thing. It is just me chatting to mates about rugby, and I haven't been able to do it in that capacity for probably 7-10 years since we all played rugby. I know we've all played sort of different sports and played rugby at different teams or maybe different groups of Lambworth. But there was a hardcore, like maybe, God, it must be even 10, 12 years ago now when it was like every Tuesday, Thursday, we'd go back to Billet and you'd watch the Thursday night game and you sort of had that group. And it's not like I don't chat
Saturday game, Saturday night out.
you know,
The time,
there was the time when the lads and we all lived in that house for a little bit. And so I miss it from that point.
That house.
That house.
We all remember that house.
We'll give it
It's not a house. That was a dungeon.
Yeah. And then the other piece on it was genuinely quite nice how many people was like a bit gutted we weren't recording. That in a nice way, it was like, oh, shame you aren't doing a recording this week. Or people like reaching out and asking where's the recording.
What are you looking at me like that
Well,
for?
he did just say to you before we started, make sure that's on silent so you stupid
Genuinely,
alarm
I
go off.
went on the app earlier and said, I've taken my medication, and now it's just reminded me to take my medication.
But it's right in the middle of my heartfelt plea to the listeners and viewers saying like it's class that people
I needed to disturb it in case I started weeping.
I have another view on it.
are reaching out and saying
After
I
our
miss it.
performance, I was so glad we didn't have to do a recording.
Yeah, there was that. There was that.
Whereas on the flip side, we were like, gutted we don't get to listen to that because we're going to be calm by the time it comes around.
yeah, I don't
It'll
feel as
have
though
passed.
I'm ready to wind up as much as I would have been if we'd
Yeah.
recorded straight after your game.
We actually said walking out of the stadium, like, I'm glad we're not doing a podcast this week because that was...
It was one of them. We was
Horrific.
walking away from the ground, steam coming out of our ear. Yeah, it was.
After our game, I was like, I'm glad we're not recording tomorrow because I don't remember what's happened.
What did happen?
Training
Craig was
exercise.
absolutely.
Yeah, I was a bit
Faced.
drunk.
Was you?
I was. I targeted the Salford game because
I like that.
it's one of
I
those.
targeted the Salford
Like,
game
no
like he's a
offence
player.
to Salford, but a full strength Rovers team would be
Yeah.
no. A full strength Rovers team would be a full strength Salford team, and then when you look at everything that's going on with Salford and everything like that, I was like, "Oh, that's a week I'm going to have a proper drink," because I know at the Wigan game in a couple of weeks, I'll maybe have one or two because
I might do it this week because if the normal thing keeps happening and we just lose at home because we're at home, at least I don't have to remember the fact that Salford might beat us.
Yeah, but you're recording straight after the Salford game this
That's
week.
going to be hilarious. Yeah, so this next episode, after our game at the weekend, I'm coming straight here after the game and recording. Dean's not here because you're swanning off to Turkey.
I am going from the game to Paragon Station to jump on a train to go to Manchester Airport.
Didn't need that much detail, but so Dean's going to Turkey.
like for rally that kid.
I don't know.
And and I'm recording on my own with these two. If we lose to Salford, I'm going AWOL.
That's Dean's expecting a loss and he's getting out the country. He just can't cope with it.
Well. Right. I'm glad I'm handing to you. I've spent the last 3 hours talking to people I don't know. So carry on.
Are we off?
Yeah, it's up to you now.
Sweet.
You've only got 10 minutes though, because it's just a training exercise, isn't it?
How am I going to review every single try in 10 minutes?
Well, we'll just go over.
Yeah? Yeah.
Why don't you review Tyrone May's try first?
On that note, see you next week, guys.
For those that don't know, obviously you won't. Craig had an accumulator, and all he needed was a Tyrone May try to win
150 quid.
off of.
Father.
If he didn't spend 10 minutes in the bin for mouthing off, he might have had a better chance of scoring that.
Because his knee was falling off anyway. But
To be fair, by the time he got sin-binned, he'd already took 2 tackles and made 2 play the balls. That is his max for
Yeah,
the
it is, to be
game.
fair.
So he probably wasn't going to attack the line again during that game, even despite it being Salford.
everyone around me knew that I was waiting on Tyrone May to score. And at one point, I'd nipped to the toilet. And I came back just after we'd scored. And someone was like, "Oh, Tyrone May scored," and I was like, I heard it on the tannoy before I came back. Like, it wasn't Tyrone May. I think it was Davis, to be fair, but yeah, I was a bit gutted. I never usually get close. I'm usually like 1 out of 5. But yeah, it's what it is.
Speaking of which, remind me to show you after this. I put a free bet on at the weekend for the opening of the football, which you know I don't really care for. One team let me down for a couple £100.
Was it MK Dons
It
by any
certainly
chance?
was. I couldn't actually send you a screenshot of it because it was like a 12-fold accumulator as well, and I couldn't be bothered to do 2. I was like, I'll tell you when I see you. But yeah, it was your MK Nons.
Franchise team.
Yeah, well, you save a club from going bust, and that's the thanks you get, innit? But anyways, that's a story for a different day. But yeah, on to our games. Not really a lot you can say, is there? You can only really play what's in front of you, and we always say that as rugby fans, don't we? And I think we did that well for the most part. There was a couple of little moments in the game where we did get sort of dragged down to Salford's level a little bit. Sangare and Ormondroyd were like little kids. Every time there was a stoppage or a penalty or a knock-on, there were the first 2 in there, and then there were crying wolf and crying victim. It was like, honestly, it was like watching under-8s with them too. I was quite frustrated about that, but
It was probably one of the worst games, I think, in recent weeks or maybe the last couple of months, where one team is outclassed and they're really trying to slow the ball down, and then when it gets done back to them, they're crying, they're whining, the arms are throwing. And I understand, look, it's awful what's going on at Salford, but it was really poor. And you know why they're doing it? Because they know we're attacking from anywhere we want and scoring from anywhere we want. So they're doing it, but you have to have a little bit of humility in that and turn around and be like, well, when they're doing it back to us, I know I've just had an elbow in someone's face 4 tackles in a row. I know I've just been pulling the player, trying to get the ball loose. Then we'd do it back, which was at times poor from us, they say, get dragged down to their level. But then the outcry, and you thought, frustrating, are you going to forgive it? You wouldn't want to be a Salford player at this moment in time, and you wouldn't want to go through what they're going through, so you just sort of let it slide by. The only real letdown was that, I think after about 20 minutes, we kind of got a bit sloppy for a 10-minute period, and I don't think, look, this is an excuse, I don't mean it to sound like one, but it's the only way to describe it. I felt the ref was influenced. You know, I feel like their first try, I thought it was a really soft head high that Jared got done for, but it was meant to calm the game down because there'd been a bit of back and forth, bit of argy-bargy with some forwards. They then, for me, wasn't a ball steal for the follow-up penalty. The player just lost it into heavy contact. And then we was at fault. You know, Jared and Minnie were split for their try. There's nothing wrong with that. That obviously led to Tyrone mouthing off to the referee, saying, look, you're not reffing this in a fair way. And, all right, it wasn't a close game. It wasn't a game against a good club that matters in the grand scheme of the league or the end of the year. But referees should referee games in the same way every week. And I can understand why players were getting frustrated, because that little run of play, I felt like there was like 2 to 3 penalties that really one of them maybe could have been given.
You say you can understand, but there's times this season, from our point of view, for Hull FC, that you've had a go at Aidan Caesar for doing exactly the same thing when things have gone against us, and you said that's not really what you should be doing. And from Tyrone May, that's not what he should be doing.
Don't worry. Aidan Caesar embarrassed himself 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And the way he spoke to the referee, we'll get onto in your section, because if we're going to start talking about players that are disrespecting the referee...
You brought him up a few times. Tyrone May's done pretty much similar thing. He's disrespected the referee. Whatever it is, players can't be getting away with it.
You will not. I don't know about you, because I've just turned up a couple of minutes ago, but you will not get me defending what Tyrone May's done.
Definitely
and
not.
I will not be an internet troll saying that it's been done by the RFL on purpose because we've got Wigan in 2 games' time. That is not true.
No.
Tyrone May...
What about that troll
We
there?
don't talk about that person. Tyrone May was wrong to do what he did. I don't care how frustrated he was. He's a professional. He's not one of our leaders as such. I know he's an half-back and he leads the team around the field, but I don't think he's that leader as a voice in the dressing room. He's a bit aloof, goes off on his own. You can see it in warm-ups to his own thing. But he's still a player
cog
for us, and he's a
Yeah,
cog.
Especially with
He's
this
a
big
major
game
part.
coming up
Still
in
a
a few
senior
weeks.
player.
Yeah, and what he did was wrong. You don't sweat the referee, whether it's right or wrong, and he deserves to take his ban for it.
What did he actually say?
He just swore, and you can see him swearing on the game going back. I don't know the exact words, but I feel like he's swearing, saying like it's an effing joke, or I don't think he called him that you're an effing joke to referee. I think he made the comment that your decision's an effing joke, something to that effect.
I didn't know if it had been released, because the match review panel normally release.
I can understand players' frustrations. The refereeing has been poor all season, and it seems to be getting worse and worse. So I don't know if we're putting more focus on it, that we're noticing it more. But the players have still, whatever player it is, a referee's never changed a decision. Bite your lip and get on with it. But more and more we're seeing players, Aidan Caesar, Tyrone May. We saw, I don't know if you picked up on it, Mikey Lewis got pulled out and then he's running away back to the defensive line.
After the
and
try, Martin's try where he
he's
kicked the
laughing.
ball.
Like,
That was...
Yeah, you don't agree with it, but don't show it. Like, you've got kids, you're supposed to be one of our pin-up guys in the league. Don't show it on TV laughing that you might not agree with it, but bite your lip, get on with it. You're not setting a good example if you're running away after having a chat from a referee laughing. Aidan Caesar having a mouth off at the referee. It's not good for the game. Tyrone May, it's not good for the game. We've got to stamp this out from a player's point of view. Let the process, the coaches deal with the referees as they need to deal with it, or the clubs after the game. But
no disagreement, absolutely correct. The problem you've got is they're only stamping down on it. They're not really punishing referees for bad games or bad decisions. We've only seen a couple of examples.
Other referees
we
to come in.
We don't have reserves to cover them, and we're only seeing it when it's the worst. So again, Tyrone May was wrong. He swore. He's got 2 games for it. End of. What we're not seeing though is Mikey getting punished for that, for laughing, running away. We're not seeing Caesar getting punished when he couldn't shut his mouth, right? When the referee's like trying to, because Caesar, and we'll get to that in your game, because I don't want to lose our time on this, but Caesar does think he's in the right, and we will discuss that over your section. But we're not seeing them punished. We're only seeing the very worst ones when there's a swear word said or something like that. So players aren't being punished accordingly. So it is bleeding into the game. And when we talk about trying to make what essentially was an incredibly poor decision by Sky to have Rovers and Salford on Thursday night and then to put 2 games on Friday night at the same time, so you've got barely any rugby to watch over that week because we've had a failed international fixture. Really, what did you get on Thursday night? You got a training exercise from Rovers where we did play some fantastic rugby, we did smash some records, and we did see some incredible sort of sport to watch. But really, it was boring. It wasn't entertaining.
Oh, it was
And then on Friday night, if you bothered to watch the Saints game, I'm a little mini rant now about the sport in general, but you watch the Saints game, boring, turn over a poor cast team 40-0. And then if you did manage to tune into what was a good game to watch, which was Wire and Lee, that's your only fix of the weekend. But instead, we've got cameras the night before focusing on Mikey laughing, questioning why Jared's getting done for a high shot that barely touched the shoulder. It just is poor. So the league and the sport as a whole has to do better if players are going to do better.
On the back of that, you got the commentators talking about the play that Salford are in as well. And it was, for me, it was a poor, apart from the Leeds Warrington game, it's just the past 2 weeks have been poor, really. The split weekends. I know it's happened because of the failed international round. But
so my apologies. Please go on to Rovers.
sorry,
Sorry.
Craig.
Just quickly on that, the 2 Friday night games, that was at the behest of both clubs. They both wanted to play Friday night. Now, we're screaming out for clubs taking their own lead with things and saying, Sky, we want our fixture here. And now we've done it and we're complaining about it. So it's...
we won't have to complain about if the RFL hadn't cocked up an international weekend. And
well,
had a full
it's the
weekend of
RFL,
fixtures.
isn't it? So...
Go on, let's get some Rovers stuff out.
Yeah, let's... obviously, we've spoken about the Salford demise, if you will, at length, and having 5 players pull out on the day of the game, and all of them were what you'd class as first-team players. You've got Joe Shorrocks, Chris Hankinson, Ethan Ryan, Chris Hill, and Russell. Is it Matty Russell? All 5 of them pulled out on the day of the game.
Only Ethan Ryan came back in, didn't he?
No, Ryan didn't come back in. There was 5 missing.
I know two of them have left.
Ryan Brierley,
left.
sorry, I thought, whatever the figure I saw, I thought Brierley.
You've seen Ryan.
Brierley was, I thought Brierley was one of them, but he chose to play. So the number was 6 and 5 didn't play.
Possibly.
That's how I got confused.
I mean,
but yeah,
Brierley's doing it for Rowley. Brierley and Rowley are like dad and lad, aren't they? They always have been.
And for me, he's also doing it, because I don't know if you heard him the other week commentating on the game that was on BBC, but he was fantastic as a commentator. So he's got a future in commentary, you know. He was up there, I really rate Callie Amor, and he was up there doing a real good job. He didn't want to go off putting himself into disrepute, does he? So I think he's part of that as well.
I actually sang a song at Ryan Brierley on Thursday. I do remember that, because he gave me a thumbs up. I was like, was it do Ryan Brierley? And about 5 or 6 people joined in, and it was like that to us. It was just after they scored their second try. But anyways, yeah, so apparently it's pensions that were the issue this week, and that's why them players pulled out, because they were paid, but they weren't paid into the pensions apparently. So read into that what you will.
We're taking a few more minutes because Dean spent all of it talking about Caesar.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a little bit disappointing. Obviously, I've got to have something negative every week. But both tries came on Jared's inside shoulder, where you'd think he would be better dealing with that sort of attacking line, if that makes sense. Like, the first one was from a couple of yards out. No excuse. Like, he should be making that tackle, or at least making a contact to disrupt that. Your podcast just started in your pocket.
Are you kicking off at me for being told to take my meds?
So yeah, that was the only real thing that was disappointing. But on a very, very positive note, scored 14 tries and we had 8 different try scorers. I think
scoring for 4. I mean, just
on
the Jared
Budgie,
point.
Davis, and
yeah,
I can't think of who the other one was who scored a double.
On the Jared point,
Litton.
Yeah, Litton scored 2. On the Jared point, you're not going to get me defending him at the end of the year when he's gone and saying that he's one of the best forwards that we ever signed for us that year. But we've discussed it at length. The guy's a talisman player. He came over and he did what he wanted to do. We won a trophy under him.
It's
we
what
could
he's
still
bringing
win
off
more.
the field
and
just as
we,
much
we,
as
we you compared him in the past to when Frank Pritchard came over for you. That was lazy. 2 tries off his shoulder. Not great. Don't think me or Craig have ever turned around and said he's the best prop in Super League in a serious term. We've only ever said it jokingly.
Not in a serious term.
Well, to be debated. Maybe listeners or viewers can find it if one of us has said it in the past.
sure
no,
We'll
I'm
find
sure
it.
there's something in our WhatsApp chat where Craig said he's the best overseas signing ever.
Possibly one of the biggest.
Season. Best overseas signing. I didn't say he was the best prop in the league. I said best overseas signing.
He's not even the best overseas signing this year, though, is he?
Yeah.
Is he? Do you think?
In terms of what he's brought, not necessarily on field, but as Dean's just mentioned, the off-field stuff.
Overall impact.
Overall impact. So yeah,
because what's
I think
another
that's what I was trying to get
overseas
at.
signing delivered for their club this year so far?
I think Caesar's done all right.
Yeah, because he's like
Is Lewis Martin overseas?
No, well-
he's English, isn't he?
No, I'm kidding.
Well, there's a good
He
comparison.
has got to be
isn't
right
it?
up there, but I would have to properly look through though,
'Cause
because
when
he
you
has
think-
got a lot of this sort of stuff where he's letting in tries or the odd lazy thing, lazy arms.
It's an
I know
age
that
thing
eye
as well,
tackle
I think,
wasn't really an eye tackle, but
No,
he
but
has
he's
done
still-
some.
But big name signings, we are going right off track, and I love this today. But Tristan Sale for Saints has done nothing.
Oh no,
Right, and
I
the
was never going to include it.
Realistically, do we think they're going to do something at the business end of the year? No. Going on to you guys, because that's probably the team that I know more about than a lot as well. You've had some overseas signings this year. I'm sure they've done big things for you that you're happy about.
Liam Knight's
but,
probably our best overseas
but what's he
signing.
done? Led you to 7th at the minute, and you can't beat Huddersfield. So at the end of the day,
nice dig there for a team that's coming back up from bottom of the league.
But at
Josh.
the end, yeah, but at the
Put
end
into
of,
perspective.
At the end of the day, if you talk about the impact, I think that'd be interesting for us to dig into and do that as maybe as a future question and look through all the overseas signings, see where we rank them, because it goes on all right performance on the field, but it also goes on what they've achieved for the club. So, all right.
Have we ever had a
great,
season
but-
where overseas signings haven't made as big an impact as we actually thought? Because nothing's standing out to us.
Well, that depends. You're going to argue, as you said, and no tongue in cheek here, what Caesar's done to your team.
Yeah.
Like, and where he's brought it from a bottom of the league club to challenging for the playoffs. Maybe challenging for the playoffs. I can't
We will
see
see,
that personally.
yeah.
But so he's brought a lot too, and you don't always see what he's done off the field. What Jared's done is, have we won a Challenge Cup? Yes. Has he been our best forward this year? No. He's probably not in our best 3 or 4 forwards this year. But what's he brought off the field? So I would be interested to get across all the teams and see.
Yeah.
It depends. You got to look at it into perspective as well. Caesar was brought in to help rebuild the whole squad. Jared was brought in to help you take you to that next step.
Different tasks.
So
They
there's
both had
different tasks. But I'm trying to wrap my brain out. What overseas signings actually none stand out to me this year?
Mickey Mack came over from France. Won a Challenge Cup.
Would you class Bailey Hodgson as an overseas? Didn't he come from down under?
It was last season, though.
That
wasn't
fella
it?
from
Was that last season?
Maybe
that
yeah.
fella
'Cause
from
he's done,
Wakey.
I think he's class.
Fella from Wakey. With the
Fatili.
Did he come last year and play
He came
Championship?
mid-season last year, yeah, I think.
Anyway, should we go back to
yeah,
Rovers?
we'll dig
I don't like
Sorry.
him
For the
anyway.
fifth
He's
time,
cut his hair
let's
off.
go back to.
Anyway,
Yeah.
not a lot else to say really, but just very pleased overall. As I said earlier, you can only play what's in front of you, and again we did that. You do have to give some credit to Salford. You know, they didn't give in, and that was shown by the late try that they scored. You know, and their fans, that they've got to get some credit because there weren't that many of them. It was probably close to being even in terms of home and away numbers, but they were loud and they were vocal, and you've got to give them some credit for that, for sticking by the club where it'd be all too easy just to walk away, and they're still there.
Massive respect to all the Salford fans.
I'd say so, from being in a similar position, not in terms of what's going on off the field for them, but in terms of what's going on the field. Similar position for us last season. As much as you might think, God, that must be awful, I don't know how they get themselves to be there. It is so hard to not go.
Yeah.
It is so difficult to not go to a game.
When it's a big part of your life, it does become.
You
like
just
that.
Of course it does.
Yeah,
you do,
of course it
you
does.
do it.
Naturally just
We've
go.
all done it
Of course.
ups and downs in our lives watching our teams.
One thing I won't have though is there was a group of about maybe 10, 15 Rovers fans behind us saying, "Watching you die is funny as swear word." I won't have that. Because if that was the other
That
way
stems
around,
from 2016, doesn't it? When the
Possibly.
Yeah.
possibly, but like I spoke to a Salford fan and said if we'd have been relegated, there would have been no more Salford. And he just oozed class, this guy, and I just won't have it because it's not. If it was the other way around and people were saying it about us, we'd be first ones to kick off.
On Thursday night, when the fans were singing, "You laughed at us when we went
that
down."
one, I like.
Good
Don't mind
chant.
that, yeah.
I instantly thought that story with you, I'm a Salford fan, and that
Yeah.
thing of, and to this day I believe that to be true. When that Salford fan said to Craig, "If it had been, I'm glad it was you, not us, because if it was us, we wouldn't be a team. We wouldn't come back up." I believe that 100% to be true, and recent history has now shown they're struggling even as a Super League club. So
I mean, in hindsight, you wouldn't be, in my opinion, where you are now if you didn't get relegated.
100% agree.
So Salford did you a favour in
Here's
2016.
a coincidence for you. I was round here on Saturday with the wife. She was listening to some of the old podcasts, and it was the episode when our mate Cookie was here, when he came as guest on the pod. And just as we was pulling up, and I heard her talking about, and I was making the point that we got to learn how to have success and be a winning team, because in the Championship, we pretty much went undefeated, won everything, scored tries for fun, and shot straight back up, and we learned how to be a winning team with a winning club mentality. And we spoke about how actually you guys might have been better off going down at the end of last year to learn that winning mentality.
Wakefield have done the same.
And
pretty much,
Wakey have
haven't
now
they?
done the same. So we have discussed this before, and it generally looking back now and from where we've come, we wouldn't change it for the world, would we? I don't know if you've got any them stats and figures to throw out, because I think we should throw them out if you've got a load of them.
I ain't got any wrote down.
Interesting ones from the game then, despite it being Salford, obviously.
And it was Reece Martin who got a double as
Yeah,
well, by the way.
Reece Martin
Just come to me then.
scored his thousandth Super League point. 930 odd for Leeds, obviously, but then the rest for us now. Massive achievement for him. That became our joint ever biggest winning margin after we beat Catalan earlier this year, 68-6. So it's still a 6-2 point difference. It's actually our biggest ever Super League away win. So another big score. Now, it's Salford, yeah, I get that, but everyone's played Salford now, and everyone's had a chance to play them this year. So, and they've been in dire strikes most of the year. And if anything, it still shows just where we're ahead as a club to be able to put that kind of score on and start getting all his records and put a massive score in, despite it being them. Budgie scoring 4 tries became the joint most tries in a game for a Rovers player, tied with 4 or 5 other players, Ben Crooks being one, Dobbo being one. There's a couple of good names in there. All quite recent, really, sort of the last 15 to 20 years.
You messaged me, didn't you?
Yeah.
Carry on.
Yeah. One thing that I did find interesting before I mention sort of the last point, Budgie getting the 4 tries. 2 sort of comparisons I wanted to make. Your game against Wigan, targeting Wade in the corner. That's all Mikey did. And Budgie scored 3 of his 4 tries from doing that. Very similar. Target the weak link and go for it. Shouldn't take away from it. I felt there was a second kind of comparison to your game with the hat-trick that Martin got. It was scored against poor opposition. And there was scored kind of, not again off the cuff or against the run of play, but almost kind of
Ad hoc
and targeting that weak link again. They're still great and you don't want to take credit away from them. But at the same time, it wasn't like ours was scored against good winger and centre opposition and we really challenged a tough team in the corner. And it's not as if like Martin's not taking any credit away from the tries he scored, but it wasn't like you scored them against a good team as well.
It's a damn sight better team than what you played, though. I will.
I just felt
you
there was
got Gagai on that side.
Comparison to be made there, and the way there was, you're playing against bottom of the league teams and doing them. And then the final one, we spoke 2 weeks ago about Man of Steel going dark. Your game, 2 of your players that were up there challenging, SASA and Caesar.
No points.
No
Definitely.
points.
Definitely.
Jake Connor, top of the league, missing a game for his concussion. No points. Tell me Michael Lewis won't get 3 points for Thursday night.
You'd think so.
8 try assists. 8 try assists, right? Man of the match on Sky, right? He's now
and a try.
not only, and a try for himself, meat pie for himself, not only one behind top try scorers in the league, again, just ridiculous for an halfback, joint with try assists in the league, which will be a new record for him, I believe, now.
I think Lamb's...
Has Lamb got one more? A joint try scorer the same, one behind on try assists.
Wait there. So just put in. Mikey got 8 on Thursday.
8 assists.
And he's still 1 behind Lamb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't think Lamb... I've
Yeah,
not really
Lamb-
looked on
Lamb's
the
at like
stats, so fair
24.
enough to Lamb.
Everything
yeah.
goes through Lamb, and I'm not taking against McNamara, who's turned up in Mbappe, that
O'Brien
can do
as well,
well,
yeah.
O'Brien, but everything does go
Yeah,
through
true.
Lamb in that team. But all of a sudden, it flips on its head now. If Mikey plays how he's been playing, and we pick up wins and he plays really well in the closing games of a season, some people will be calling foul play if Mikey wins Man of Steel again. But it's a very real possibility.
What was he, 8 points behind?
Yeah.
It's not,
And now-
it's not a big match.
and-
It is what it is.
And now
like,
he's 5 points behind all those players that were ahead of him.
It is what it is with Man of Steel. Like,
He missed 2 games when it went blank, though, didn't he? So you don't know if players have...
yeah, you don't know that, but
But yeah, I just thought it was very, very, very worth shouting out. And then final one on the women's and reserves, if you've got that info.
Yeah, just on the try scorers, it was Dobber, Wellham, Hodgson and Crooks.
They're the ones.
So, so this week, Robin's Roundup, we'll call it. I don't know if that's the trademark, but that's what I'm going with. Obviously, big win for the first team. Just a big win for the reserves at Salford, 62-0, which was quite
because all
impressive.
the
Good to
reserves were
see.
playing at the
Yeah,
first team.
exactly. Yeah, so effectively they're probably
The
playing,
reserves.
playing the academy sort of thing. The women's game at home on Sunday beat Bradford 32-6. The academy had no game but play Castleford next week alongside the women's and the men's. That's about it.
Overall.
Nothing else from... I know the LDRL and PDRL had a tournament at Fryston in Castleford, but I couldn't find any results or any information on that. So
Just all in all, really. And then on top of that, going to Salford, destroying Salford, signing their best player to now play for us in the fullback in young Declan Murphy. Can't really
I'm excited about
have a
that.
better week than that for us, really.
Yeah.
Is he going to play though?
So I believe there is a plan here because he will be...
What are you kicking off at?
We're signing him to understudy. You know, he's a young lad, he's a rugby union convert. You know, he was on Saracens' books. I don't think you expect him to come in and be a first teamer straight away, but there'll obviously be some sort of plan there, but it's good cover, and it coincides, and I actually didn't realise this, it coincides with us releasing Niall Evalds. Evalds was not gone, he was on loan.
I am surprised, especially with other news that has come out this week that he hadn't decided to go elsewhere and potentially get more game time for himself next season. But yeah, not a bad move for the kid. Not a bad move at all. So
That's it from me. Us.
Can't read that. Right.
So ours was really jolly. How jolly is yours going to be?
great.
Find
yeah,
out after the
let's,
sponsor.
Let's talk about the sponsor.
This week's episode is sponsored by Comscaf.
Commercial Scaffolding, or Comscaff, are a Hull-based company formed over 30 years ago.
They offer a safe and professional scaffolding service nationwide.
For services and enquiries, you can go to comscaff.co.uk or call 01482 782 181.
Right, so let's get on to the fun bit.
Yeah, let's.
Yeah.
I've packed up now. We've talked about the boring bit.
Do you know the worst bit about this is? This was a while ago for us, and I've been forced to try and have to like relive it.
It is now 9 days after the event.
Yeah.
I suppose though, you could, in that instance, you could give it as in the moment and now that everything's settled, you can sort of see it from both.
I said earlier, we had steam coming out of our ears. That was wrong. Like, I still feel the same now as I did leaving that ground. I was massively disappointed. Really, really disappointed. And more so after the two wins we had prior to that. It was just, but we spoke about, we felt that coming, didn't we? What was it you had the conversation with at the game? We felt this performance was,
I said
the whole stadium felt.
I got asked on
really flat.
Humberside a couple of days before the game, didn't I? And I was worried then that it was going to be a rematch of Magic where we just get dragged into whatever it is they do and how they do it. I don't know how they managed to just get under our skin, but they did it at Magic and they did it a couple of weeks, 9 days ago.
Yeah.
And I said I was worried about that. If they can draw us back into that, then we'll lose the game.
Early on,
there was every opportunity for us to go out there and do to them what we did to Wigan, but we allowed them to, whether it's just getting under our skin or getting in our heads or what, but we allowed them to do that.
It was the quietest opening 20 minutes of a game I've watched on TV for the last few months.
It was.
Bearing in mind they don't often bring a lot of travelling fans, and I know we love singing about rugby in a library at your place, but I mean, and don't get me wrong, this is going to sound real bad and the old fans will get mad. Sky did you so dirty all game. Like, you couldn't hear a word. They commented on it in the opening 20 because you couldn't hear anyone. It was dead. Then you could hear the boos from your fans at half time, very clear because they kept the mics going. And then they started showing your fans leaving early and commented on it. And I was like, oh, Sky are doing FC so dirty here.
But it was like, we know what you guys say. It can be a quiet place at times, but it's coming off the back of a Wigan win. You'd think there'd be a bit more boisterous in, but it was just dead, like nothing. Just you could hear every impact in the collision from the pitch. Obviously, Huddersfield brought best part of a taxi.
They actually brought one of them, like not quite a minibus, but not quite a coach. Like a short.
A party bus.
Like
Yeah.
a 23,
Party bus,
like
yeah,
a 23-seater kind of
Yeah, that's all they brought.
You mentioned about getting dragged down to their level, and for the first 20 minutes, we really did. But Huddersfield did what they couldn't do at Magic, and they added a bit of class, and they had a bit of a. They weren't great. I'm not going to big them up to what they wasn't, but they had a bit of a killer instinct to them, which we didn't see at Magic. They ground that game out. They pretty much put us to the sword that day.
I felt that your team, the players that turned up massive against Wigan, pretty much to a man was quiet all day. Mm-hmm. And the players that had a quiet game against Wigan, Lewis Martin being one of them, did turn up on the day. The other one being, Lytton, who I felt was quite quiet against Wigan, turned up against Huddersfield. And it was like a swap. The 10 players that dominated at Wigan did nothing. The 3 players that were quiet did turn up, and it wasn't enough. But the credit to Huddersfield they need to get is their game plan, and it was so noticeable in the opening 40 and probably the last 20 minutes, by which point you was all riled up anyways, because you was better coming out to open the second half. Their game plan to mob Caesar took any creativity out of your game completely. They just shut him down, and the rest of your players went, we can't do anything about this guy.
That's what Cass did 3 or 4 weeks earlier. Cass did exactly the same thing. They 3 men, every tackle, last tackle especially, throwing bodies at him just to try and put him off for a kick or whatever they could. And
it's a sensible tactic though. Like we've said it for weeks and weeks and weeks. Without Asiata, the only player that we've got to create anything realistically is Caesar. And if you're playing as a one-man band effectively, all you have to do is shut down that one player, and the team just dies.
Yeah, but as much as how much disappointed I was. We've got to. I'm trying to not let myself get too down about it. It's part of the journey. It is part of the journey. We're going to have them big ups like we had against Wigan the week before, but unfortunately, we're going to have these lows as well. No journey smooth. You're going to have bumps in the road. I am trying to put a positive spin on it, so
but am I right
before you start.
Am I right? You
Yes,
are
we are
inconsistent.
consistent.
as well.
Yeah,
we are.
But at the time when you said
Would you
that, I
rather?
didn't
Jimmy
agree
said
with you.
I think there's an element of our side that's not inconsistent. The element in terms of what we asked for more than anything, which was effort. There's not been one game at all this season where I can't walk away and say that team put effort in until the very last minute. We did it against Huddersfield. We've done it every single game that I've seen us play, and that's what we asked for.
Yeah,
beginning of the season.
Yeah,
that's the main thing, and that's probably the only thing I can confidently turn around in and say that we have been 100% competitive with.
Yeah,
is our effort, and we've been consistent with that all season. But effort and
we just come up short.
competitiveness in that type of manner doesn't win games. You need more. Just to put things into perspective, one stat that really shocks me. I said a couple of weeks ago, I can't remember who we were playing, but we made just shy of 900 metres in that game, and I said, you'll never win a game or being competitive in a game if you can't make at least 1,000 metres.
I think it was from the Saints game. I think we made 900, they made 1,400 or something like that.
We made 1,199 metres. Huddersfield made 898 metres and did us dirty.
Well,
like how?
Right.
Stats don't always show that.
Right.
No, they don't.
Right.
And a lot of that is down to
Martin is responsible for about 200 of those in them tries.
Probably.
a lot of that is down to just giving away field position and just letting them march
No,
up the field without any effort.
But it is skewed by two of Martin's tries for sure towards the end. They will have added 60 each if I'm being generous. Sorry, if I'm being a
Martin
bit
made
polite.
about 150 metres total.
So and 120 of them is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Was them two at the end. So you was closer to that 1,000 mark without them. It wasn't like that reflects the full
it's not
game.
the fact that I'm not on about the fact that we made 1,200. I'm on about the fact that they scored 30 points off of less than 1,000.
We didn't have to make them work for them meters. We was giving up ball in decent field position for them, so they didn't have to march up the field to get in that field position. They was already in there because of our poor handling errors and our ill discipline.
They had less play the balls in our 20. They had 25 to our 30.
It shows a bit of the killer instinct from them then.
Less attacking kicks. We had 14 errors. They had 6. We only missed 26 tackles. They missed 38.
so
Looking at all these stats, I cannot fathom in my head how we've allowed them to be so clinical in our 20. Because that's all that's happened is every time they've got in our 20, they've just used it and used it and used it. But the problem is we just let them into our 20. Penalties, errors, that sort of stuff. They've not had to work for any of their points.
Disappointing.
So, does that raise questions in your defence then for you two? Does it raise any concerns that they've only had that amount of possession and that amount of ball, and they've been able to do that with it?
It does a little bit.
It shouldn't, because one thing that I think we've prided ourselves on all season is our goal line defence. I think our goal line defence, as for the majority of the season, has been pretty bloody good.
Was it just
We've
an
looked
off day at
quite
the office,
comfortable.
maybe?
Yeah, maybe it is. Maybe we have worn ourselves out in them last 2 games, putting so much
Possibly.
effort in. You don't know.
Yeah,
Like I say, we only missed 26 tackles.
I mean that's
So that comes down to reads then,
because
not
You
actual.
guys are winning games some weeks and missing 40
Missing
plus.
35.
Yeah.
Like 40.
That comes down to Paul Reed's in defence.
Caesar not only got done over by a game plan that was in place to shut him down, he also then got petulant. A couple of examples we'll talk about in a bit.
Comes from
frustration, had a very off day, and a young upstart was allowed to do what he wanted for the opposition team. And young George Flanagan turned around and went, if you're not going to take hold of the game as the half-back for FC, I'll take hold of it for Huddersfield, and I'll set up tries, I'll run the ball, I'll make sure we keep the ball alive. And, all right, there's other elements to that. You was some poor errors and not really in the game, but he still did that and turned around and went, because we know he's a good player.
Yeah.
And right at the end, I've got other gripes with Caesar, as you know, but I think it was the 68th minute, Caesar, just so frustrated about the entire situation, just takes him out. Just stupid penalty, no reason to take him out. And like, yeah, the young cub has updone the king of the Pride.
We allowed Lola here to play in a dinner suit, which then allowed Flanagan to add a bit of magic round the back. That was it. It was simple. It was effective. We let Frawley.
It's a May Lewis blueprint.
A kid who hadn't been able to do it at Leeds for 18 months. We allowed him to play the game that he wants to play. Yeah, it was just a really disappointing day. I want to touch on one of the major talking points. Now, if this had been given, we are back within a shout of just after half time. We've pulled 4 to 6 points back. I still don't believe we'd have gone on and won the game, but Barron's disallowed try. We haven't really spoke about it because we've not really spoke about the game as much. Do you have any views on it? Are you happy with the decision? Because it went up as a try.
Yeah, it's one of those. For me, I initially felt it was a try because I thought the belly of the ball was down.
Yeah.
All it's got to do is touch a blade of grass.
Well, if the belly's down and it's on the green, surely that touches before the point
Exactly.
of the ball.
That
was my vision.
That's
at the
why
game.
I said try in the group when you said like thoughts on that. And for me, it's a try. You can understand why it's not given, especially given the still image that Richard Silverwood put on in reply to a Hull fan. But it's one of those, isn't it? It's one team's going to be annoyed that it's not given. The other team's going to be like,
yeah.
If it's for your team, you think it's a try, and if it's against you, you think it's a no
that's why
try.
I wanted a view from you guys.
I said try.
You said try in the thing. I said I was unsure. Maybe my red and white glasses or not looking at it. For me, it goes back to a bigger problem that I don't want to dive into about the way we have the on-field decision. Because if that goes up and goes like we used to years ago, can you check it for me? And then the video ref goes, look, I can see it's touching Milan and the ground simultaneously. I can't give that as a try. You're mad, but you're not as mad as, well, the ref sent it up as a try. That adds that extra. And I know we don't have an answer for how to fix that. We've debated it a few times, but that did make it sting a bit more. I agree with your point, though. I don't think it would have changed the outcome. And I also think that, all right, maybe if he'd just got it an extra inch inside, you won't be so aggrieved.
I think it's
Maybe they just need to get the lawnmower out and cut where the white lines are a little bit shorter than the rest of the pitch.
Well, we said change the colour, didn't we, months ago? Have pink lines on the in goal.
But for me, that sort of summed up Barron's afternoon as well. I thought by his standards this year, it was a bit of a poor afternoon for him, and there was that where most wingers are putting that down. Most wingers are scoring that try, and there was one the previous week against Wigan where he got it all wrong, didn't he? He got was it shoved out into touch when I think he thought he was just going to have an easy walk in. Luckily, the game was won. But there was something that I want to.
You had against Wigan, you had the Eckersley no try at the beginning.
Yeah.
That the video ref didn't even check and the ref didn't send up. Now, no Wigan fan that I've seen is really kicking off saying that changed the game.
No.
You did so well to beat them and your game plan was immaculate, targeting Wade. We discussed that a fortnight ago. But that's the similar principle of the chance that was a try, you know.
Yeah,
I know he bounced it, but he didn't get checked.
Yeah.
So you get the rub of the green sometimes you don't get it.
What my point on Barron was, he would have learned a lot from that game, and there was two instances, what I'm going to bring up now. Early on in the game, we're attacking their left edge. I don't know if there was 6-0 up or it was 0-0 at the time. And the ball comes out, it's Rapiner, and then he passes it to Barron. Not most wingers, but some wingers would have jumped in. Adam Swift was defending that, held his line, absolutely perfect. So when Barron got the ball, he was in a position to tackle him. 5 minutes later, for Swift's try, Barron does the opposite to that and jumps in. Inexperience showed really a lot there. So hopefully that'll be picked up on video review and say, look, this is what he did to stop you, but you didn't do it to stop him. So yeah, little things like that.
You learn more from
more from your mistakes, and hopefully he will.
These are the things why fans online, hopefully without blinkered glasses, not thinking about the club team, talk about some of these young players you've got, your Barrons, your Martins, the future England stars, not for now.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because they've got things to learn, and that. I mean, Swift loves scoring against you. It's fantastic.
He does
He's worth the money every time.
And does.
Yeah. But that's why, for fans that are actually interested, they're the type of reasons why, yes, they could get to that. They have got bags of potential and bags of skill. It doesn't matter who they play for. Good players make a statement and get in, but right now, examples like that where all the players that are out the picture are educating them on the field.
I fully believe as well he will learn from that. He's the type of player. He looks like he's like a sponge. He'll soak up what he's told, and I'm glad it's happened because hopefully he will learn from it.
I don't have the confidence in your full backroom staff, but I do have it in Cartwright. I believe that's the type of thing he will know to focus on and educate players on when it's gone wrong.
I'm doing Lasty.
Yeah, well, there's
Definitely
something I
Lasty.
want to... Before we finish on the Hull section, you want to talk about the game, or you...
I'd rather not.
Okay, so...
Whoa. We have to. I want to get onto a bit about Caesar before you get on top of it.
I think, and I know that
you jumped in about me on ours.
I know that there's FC
got
fans
plans.
that are going to listen to this and think, it's just that Josh kid again being a dickhead, that bloody Rovers fan with a chip on his shoulder. I genuinely agree with what you're about to say. I don't even need to listen to you say it, because for the referee to come out and respond to Caesar with the way that he responded to Caesar, for me, it's just like, Aidan, you are more experienced than that. You are better than that. You need to shut your mouth and accept that whatever you think might be going on here, it's not going in your favour. Wind your neck in, lead the team. Because I think the referee turned around to him and said something like, if that's how you want to play it, we'll just have it that way for the rest of the game.
So that was the bit
then.
for me. So I'll defend Caesar a little bit because I understand what happened. So I have gone in on Caesar quite a lot this year. I think part of that is probably a bit of banter from maybe not you two so much, but maybe you, Jimmy, a bit actually, but definitely all fans like, he's the best he's the best 7 in the league, he's the best 7 in all that rubbish.
Best 7 in all, I think we said, didn't we?
Just like,
I'm not wrong.
Just like the most inconsistent player going. He can beat Wigan because he can kick at a man that doesn't play rugby league, but then he gets done over by Huddersfield, second from
It's just
bottom.
like me, innit? He can play in a normal game until he gets to a final.
And then he's had his games where he stepped up, and then he has games like this where his kicking was woeful and his attitude was poor. But in this incident, and what I'll defend him on is, Rapana, had gone down with a head knock,
Yes.
right? So, but the ref can't see it, and there's 26 players on that field, and there's a lot going on.
I don't think the doctor was on at that point either.
And so, but Caesar's already decided that the ref's in the wrong for not stopping the play. And then the referee's trying to explain what's gone on and trying to calm things down, saying we don't need a mosh pit. We don't need everyone running in. And Caesar would not shut up. And the referee had to ask him 3 times. And Caesar still kept mouthing off. And we talk about leadership, and we just spoke about May and being a senior player in the team and all this, and it's just letting your side down. And then it got to the point where Caesar's still having a go, to the referee had to say to him, if that's the way you want to do it, we won't talk then. Now, Caesar your captain?
Yeah, and we need our captain
So
talking
you
to a
need
referee.
your captain to be able to talk to the referee, but Caesar's took it back into his own sort of power and made it so the referee's going, well, I ain't going to talk to you then. Now, might seem like a minor thing, but you're telling me that these refs that we all know make mistakes aren't humans and don't have a little bit of bias in the red. And next thing you know, you're in a game that you really should be winning or should be close into, and all of a sudden, their captain's just made a fool out of you. The next time there's a 50-50 call, what do you think a human being's mind does?
It's going against you.
Subconsciously,
Yeah.
It will have affected the
And
ref.
that is the example of why I think that it's not that he hasn't done good things for you, and it's not that he can't turn up on the day and be one of the best players. He really can, and he's shown it a couple of times this year. But that, and when he was trying to get the fake head knock a few weeks back, which really riled me up, that's why I dislike the guy.
Against
Because
Lee,
that
yeah.
is him letting the side down and not being a senior player. And, you've attacked us over Mini doing stuff like that in the past.
Yeah.
And now, May, it just goes to show what we've just spoke about. Every club's doing it, and there's someone in every club doing it, but that's got to be disappointing from your captain.
Oh, yeah, massively. There's times I ain't agreed with what you've said this season, but I fully agree with that. I was really disappointed with, especially listening to it back as well. We didn't, especially that game. We need him with his head on to help drag us back into this game, and yeah, that's it. It sets a bad precedent for the rest of the players as well. If your captain's doing that, what do you think?
Not only that, if he's that riled up and he's gone to the ref, yes, there will then be that subconscious sort of bias that comes from the ref. You've got to expect that. He's only human at the end of the day. But not just that, as captain, he's meant to be setting an example for the rest of the team. But then as your only playmaker on the field, if his head's gone,
Yeah,
And this
it
is
showed,
what I was,
didn't it? Because
this
we
is-
didn't create anything.
This is what I was saying earlier about we have these rules and we want consistency. You have things like making contact with the referee, making contact with an injured player that gets cited. What Tyrone May did is wrong and worthy of 2 matches. But if we want to crack down in this league and get that level of respect back that we like to tell other sports that we've got, Caesar needs punishing for things like that as well.
I'd have yelled him.
Not that, even a penalty against, right? But even a yellow. It doesn't have to, I'm not talking about a ban or out stupid. I'm not just having a go
10
black
years
and
ago,
white.
it would have been.
But that has to be done because the referee is ultimately in charge, and he explained himself quite clearly, and yet Caesar wouldn't stop 3 times.
When you've got referees with bottle like Silverwood, who you just mentioned, like
10 years ago, we had
Ganson,
referees with
Smith,
bottle.
Even Klein.
Bentham. Yeah, Klein. I liked Klein, to be honest.
Not now.
Even Thierry
Well, you
Oliver.
like him now, didn't you? He handed you the state of origin.
But they would have just gone penalty, and if you'd have gone on again, 10 metres further down the pitch. And if you'd gone on again, you're on your bike for 10 minutes.
Ganson was the worst for that. Like,
Yeah, but we need them sort of
Not the worst,
referees
the
with a
best,
bit of
depending which
backbone
way you look at it.
to try and to get rid of this out of the game. And then you need the on a Tuesday night to put points on these or put bans on these players if they're going to carry on doing it. We need to crack on through this whole section. There was some of that I was going to bring up.
They
but it
had
doesn't matter.
ages.
Yeah, but we've had ages.
We've had ages in our section.
Yeah. So a bit of a mixed weekend for the last 2 weekends against Huddersfield. Our reserves went down just Friday gone 18-12 against Huddersfield at Cottingham's Hilltop. Previous week, Academy defeated Huddersfield 52-18, so that was a good win.
Nice.
Wheelchair side beat Edinburgh 52-34 over the weekend. They came back from behind to seal only their second
Edinburgh.
against Edinburgh, yeah. Edinburgh, I can't remember what it was called now. Edinburgh Giants, I think they're called.
Jocks.
No, Edinburgh Giants. Still their second Super League
Sorry,
win
I'm
of the
offending
season.
people left, right and centre.
Want to bring up, Susan went to the game on Saturday, the Yorkshire-Lancashire Academy. Yep, the Yorkshire smashed Lancashire 42-10.
I think I remember him writing something in the group. So bearing in mind, Susan is a Rovers fan. What was the word? I love Kemp. Was it?
Well, Hull
Something
FC's twin brothers, Callum and
I'll
Lloyd
just
Kemp,
defend him.
both featuring.
He said that Kemp played well.
Yeah.
He said his man of the match wasn't Kemp, but he was impressed by the Kemp brothers.
Yeah.
Both Kemp brothers
it is
played.
Edinburgh Giants,
Threw
by
me
the way.
right off now. And Callum scored the final try, I believe, but he was impressed with quite a few of the Yorkshire lads. Yeah.
Well, basically the two teams, it was like just a hive of nepotism because it was just players' sons. Jimmy Jones Buchanan's son was playing. O'Connor's son was playing. There was loads of them. But actually, yeah, Diskin's son was playing.
Diskins. And he was playing now
But-
for Yorkshire as well.
But actually, very good players. So not all jokes aside about nepotism. Genuinely good rugby players that are stars of the future to watch.
Good.
That
A
was
lot of them
playing.
have played first team for their respective clubs as well, which is good to see at such a young age.
That's the
So-
that's the thing with rugby league, though, isn't it? Because it's such a minority sport. These kids who have got former professional players as dads, they're gonna get kind of forced into it. I think. Like I don't care if Jack Sinfield maybe didn't even want to play rugby, but
brought up with it though, aren't they?
Yeah,
So they
yeah.
buy into
Sort
it.
of they're gonna get
early
pushed
age.
into
It isn't just that. It's
and they'll be at training.
Yeah, it's the fact that they've got that pro mentality from a dad or a family member that's played in the sport around them. When you play rugby league as a minority sport in the country, there are great players out there, and some of those really good players go to union, they go to other sports, they fall out of love with the sport for whatever reason, but
'Cause
you
it's rugby
sort of
league.
end up getting put in the right position, and these players get them into the good teams. And so when your dad was a famous player 20 years ago in Super League, you don't go and play for Lambeth Lions on Long Hill. You go and play for Westall or Scala in Hull. And then you're around the best players in your city or town. So then you learn from them and grow from them.
Because
and
you've got that name.
And you get the understanding of how to train and go to the gym and what your fitness needs to be like at a younger
diet.
age. It's easier in rugby league, and I don't want to take away from players that make it because it's very tough to make it in any sport at a pro level. But it is easier to be put in the best positions in that than it is in, say, football, rugby union, or any other sports.
You also, as a kid, you get the opportunity to be exposed to success as well. Like every single player's name that we mentioned then, their dads have been successful. They've won things. Look at Will Price. There's that famous picture where he's in the dressing room at Wembley holding the Challenge Cup when we won it. Diskin's lad will have been around at some point when
But they
he'd
don't,
won
have,
a
they
trophy.
don't have to be
So
Super League top, and they don't have to be grand final winners. There are players now, like Jack Charles, whose dad played for Rovers for years and years. But he didn't play for Rovers at the absolute height, did he?
No.
He was slugging out in Division 2.
But he's still got
Chris
a
Charles,
son
wasn't he?
who's learned just from that little bit of professionalism and knowing what happens. And there's just that edge, and it's great to see. And yes, we want to grow the sport, but it is also exciting. I think at our age, or at least in my age, I think that some of these players I used to go and see as a kid playing rugby, to now think, as I start getting towards 40, their kids are probably going to be playing in some of these teams, and we're going to see the likes of Sinfield come through at Leeds, and now the next generation.
Yeah.
So just to finish on the Hull section, quite interesting this. I read this in Hull Live last week. Hull FC's scholarship took part in three modified games against Wakefield Trinity last Wednesday evening. The games were played on a full-size field with 10 players aside, promoting ball movement and space. There were 3 30-minute periods with a 7-metre defensive retreat. Only 2 defenders were allowed in a tackle, with the rules aiming to enhance core skills, tackle technique and game awareness. Hull won the games 48-16, 36-8 and 48-20. Yeah, not just the the scores, but I wasn't aware that this was even getting trialled or anything like that. It just come out. I just read it on Hull Live, but if that's what they're trying to do to promote core skills, if it works, then I'm all for stuff like that.
Go for it.
So anyway, we need to move on because someone's got to go to work. So just a quick roundup of Tribal this week. We have Rovers playing at home on Saturday, 3 p.m. kickoff. Yeah, I'd say it every week. If you can't make it to the home game, come down here and watch it at Tribal. And the same for FC. We've got Salford at home on Sunday, so that's Sunday the 10th, and that's a 3 p.m. kickoff as well. Just sticking with the Hull FC thing, I know that if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see at the bottom of the screen that there's the Lila's Law. You get the barcode on there to scan if you want to sign that petition, but also before that game, it was originally going to be, was it the Spotted Dog?
Yeah.
That's now moved. That's at Good Fellowship on Cott Road. So if you can make it there,
The charity event.
for that fun day,
Not the old game.
let me finish. For that fun day for the Lila's Law campaign, try and get there beforehand. Show your face. There's raffles. There's prizes to be won because of that. But I think some of the players will be there beforehand as well. I think Richie and Thurkill said that they're going to try and make an effort to be there. So just try and get involved on that if you can. We'll be there. Yeah, me and Dean will be there. So
People could come, see you there, go to FC, see you at FC, and then come here when we record after the game and see you here as well. They could have a day of Jimmy.
that's a long day.
That's a lot of Jimmy.
True. Even I can't deal with that much, Jimmy. So anyway,
Once a fortnight's enough.
What?
We've just had a fortnight, haven't we?
That's a bit harsh. Anyway, you need to get to work, so Josh needs to whiz through his news.
There's only really been one big talking point in the news over the last couple of weeks. There has been small smatterings of signings for teams. I mean, Chris Hill's announced he's going to Bradford. Warrington have kind of finally confirmed that Paul Vaughan is moving on to York, and they're signing a few players in, some from Australia, some from other clubs in the UK. Rovers have made a couple of announcements, new players coming in, but the dominating news story that have come out in the last couple of weeks, which shouldn't be shocking news to anybody. If I'm breaking this to you today, you probably need to get more rugby news in.
Is it that Rugby League live as shit?
Yep, that is it. So moving on.
West beat the Bulldogs.
No, so Super League have announced that they are going to expand, and it's going to be a 14-team competition from 2026.
When was that announced?
I'm going to get through this before you three jump in. I've just got a couple of notes on it just to paint the picture. So yeah, moving to 14 teams from 2026. 3 teams out of the existing 12 voted against this, so to speak. So FC voted no. FC are actually in favour of a reduction in teams. They want a higher quality with less teams is their sort of justification at the minute.
Less home
Rovers,
games.
less home games for them, of course.
I'm down for that.
Rovers voted for no as well. Rovers actually think it's too soon. They was in favour of expanding in 2027 and beyond, which does have its merits, I think, rather than feeling like we've rushed something through.
Again.
And then when I say that another team voted no, they didn't actually vote. Wigan decided to abstain from the vote. But however, the 9 other clubs that did vote is the reason this went through. Some of the pros that come with this, just to throw some out there, I'll throw some pros and negatives before you guys jump in, but it does mean that we won't have these stupid loop fixtures anymore. That's what they're arguing right now. Obviously, I've argued against them a few times on the pod. I think it's been stupid. Some teams getting to play Salford 3 times before they've even played other teams in the competition. Saints an example this year. The idea behind, and I've seen some ex-pros and journalists arguing this is a great pro, that it actually creates more opportunities for British players. It creates roughly 60 new positions at a first team level if we have 2 new teams in there. What this then doesn't go on to talk about is that means that them teams have to be British. You know, if Toulouse are one of these teams that come up, that doesn't create spots for them. It does help create an infrastructure overall to encourage more British players to play the game, but that remains to be seen if it works out. Given the fact that we've increased the quota spots to 10 from next year, all it maybe does is bring a few more overseas players in as well, especially if teams want to be competitive. Some of the negatives, and a few more negatives that I've seen rather than pros for this right now, it does make a dilution of the product for us. You know, there is a chance that you could end up with several teams that are like a Salford, a Huddersfield or a Hull this year that aren't really offering anything to the competition. I do feel bad about that.
There's a reason LFC fans
I know.
absolutely
That
hate
was so
you.
easy, that one. But on a serious note, you look at what's happened with Salford. They've gone into administration. They've had all these issues paying players. Teams that need to come up and maybe need that money, they're going to have to be very shrewd about who does come up. There's a negative point here around Sky. This does mean that there's less commission and less financial incentive if we go with a team like Toulouse to come up. And also it means that there's more teams to spread money around that we get from Sky. A pot of money that has been decreasing in recent years. We've not been getting as much. There is a chance, before I go on to the final big negative that I think is quite a big one, we may lose Magic Weekend over this.
Oh, thank God for that.
So I know some people love Magic Weekend, some people don't. There are discussions of losing Magic Weekend in favour of going to an 8-team playoff rather than 6-team. Not sure quite on how that works. I know that when we had the Super 8s before, which was almost an 8-team playoff, so to speak, there was desperately trying to finish 5th because then you got to play 8th place, which pretty much became the poorest team, really. The next one, the other point I'm missing, I believe it was Derek Beaumont, the owner of Lee, that said this, was he's in favour of trying to encourage a 9s tournament to replace the Magic Weekend. There's been some sort of support behind this. I know some people at the RFL have come back to say they don't actually like the idea. They think we should be looking around what we already do rather than going back to 9s, which we did try a number of years ago. But Beaumont's argument is it's new, it's fresh, it's been proven as a success some years in the NRL. It allows youngsters and academy and youth to get in and play. He also spoke about encouraging other teams to be involved, not just championship sides, but also potentially rugby union sides. And then the final point, and this is the real bugbear of mine looking through this, which is a major negative, the selection process. So it's been announced that the IMG ratings for the top 12 teams will count, and they will be the 12 teams that will gain the 12 places in the league. The 2 new positions will be based on a combination of IMG ratings and then a discussion and agreement from an independent panel that decides. Now,
Is it chaired by Nigel Wood?
No, you know what this is? This is so that Toulouse don't come up.
And this is what a lot of people online are saying, that obviously this means that Toulouse don't come up because they could
So
potentially ahead of
Bradford
them.
do, I bet.
It's so that teams like Bradford, that's also had its administration challenges in the past, very similar to what Salford are going through, can come up. There are a number of very worthy teams battling. You have Oldham that have a lot of money at the minute that are signing a lot of quality players that could challenge, you know, maybe do a Wakefield this year, maybe better, maybe a bit worse, but could not be cannon fodder, so to speak. York are doing the right thing on and off the field at the minute. Toulouse do the right thing on and off the field. Bradford are a once great team, are struggling to come back. So there is a lot of controversy over this because basically it's going to happen behind closed doors. We know what Rugby League's like. We know what those in charge are like. Whether we see how this is decided or not, it just brings the game into disrepute again. So I do apologise that news section's took me 4 or 5 minutes to get through, but I wanted to get all the facts and figures out there. So yeah, bit wild, but that is the biggest news right now. So please discuss.
Yes, boss.
First of all, I agree with Rover's stance on it.
Sounds like an exam question, by the way.
It's too
Yeah, please show you're working.
it's too early. How you can come up with a decision for next season 3 months before the end of this season is ludicrous.
There's
but I
no
think we all
blueprint
saw
or
something
anything,
like
is
this
there?
coming when they upped the quota spots.
I think they should have announced it now, like they have, but in time for 2027.
Yeah, you look
because you look at the teams that are in the Championship now. All the players that the Super League teams want, they've already been signed up. And I said in the past not in the too distant past, but when we changed to 10 quota players, I genuinely thought that's a good thing because there's not enough quality in terms of players in the league to support 12 teams. Now, the 12 teams that are currently in the league have snapped up, or at least 11 of them, have snapped up all the good talent. You've then got 3 other teams that are going to come up next season, assuming that Salford go down or go bust. Those 3 teams are at such a massive disadvantage now for 2026 and beyond, because the players that we've signed for next season, we ain't just signed them for 1 year, aside from Knight, obviously, for good reason. They're just at a disadvantage already. It should have been announced now, in time for 2027. Tell the teams that are coming up that they're coming up and let them plan. I think next season it's just going to be a bit of a shit show.
Sorry to interrupt you. The NRL obviously expanding.
That's what I was just about to say. Yeah, Perth was announced 2 or 3 months ago. Perth Bears, I believe it is. Yeah. They've announced them almost 2 years before they're about to start.
They did with the Dolphins though, as well.
They did with the Dolphins and the Titans back 10, 15 years ago, however long that was. That's planning. That's giving that franchise, or whatever they want to call it, across there, time to sign players, get everything in place. We're giving 2. I'd say it should be 3 teams, because I don't believe Salford are in a position to carry on in Super League. 5 months, not even that, before pre-season starts.
Pre-season's November.
These teams are going to be signing players all through next season. Yeah, I know teams do it, but they're going to be signing cores of their squad all through next season, because they ain't going to have time to get things in place before the start of the coming season. It just shows how amateur. But the clubs must see something in it if 9 of them have voted yes. So what are they seeing that us average Joes sat watching the game at?
I'd like to see a full breakdown of what each club's reasonings are.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know Rovers, we know Hulls. I'd like to know why Wigan abstained. Why do they feel
You've got to vote, use it.
Maybe they just couldn't be
So
bothered.
don't forget, and I've got a little bit of a... Alright, maybe a little bit... maybe a little bit of like madness in my head about it, but the 3 teams that have said no are wealthy clubs. I'm not saying we don't need the money, but all 3 are quite wealthy clubs at the minute. Now,
probably the 3 wealthiest.
Potentially.
Barring
what are these
Wire.
other clubs looking at? They're not getting a lot of money from visiting fans from your Salfords or from your Catalans, but are you going to get a lot from your Bradford, from your York? And is that, and we've seen, discussing Vegas previously this year, that some of the teams, like, were playing Leeds in Vegas, and Leeds didn't want to lose a home game because of the sheer amount of money it means to them through the gate for a home game. Now, I'm not saying you're going to get an extra home game. You might do on the fixtures. I'm not sure how it'll work. But you are going to get maybe 500, 800 more travelling fans. These clubs that come up, your Yorks and that, are going to get over 1,000 from our 2 clubs alone. I've got a bit of tinfoil hat about that, because I think that's one of the reasons, as well, these teams are looking for more money. And what I worry about is, my only real example on this is Paul Vaughan announced going to York, and there's sort of rumblings on the internet that he must know that York are one of the teams coming up, even though it hasn't been decided yet because the IMG ratings aren't firmed up and we haven't had the independent panel.
Sorry to jump in. We all knew about the quotas thing before it was announced, because Liam Knight was already announced when not announced, but he had already signed. Before it was announced. So.
But this all just leads into, is it fair, is it just? We don't know. We don't know if York's one of the teams. Could be wrong here. York could stay down. But then these teams that do want to come up, are we putting them in a situation so short of time where they need to make rash signings and overplay for players?
Setting them up to fail, really.
We're setting them to fail, i.e. a Salford. Now, Salford's demise financially is a little bit different, but it's a similar circumstance where all of a sudden, Oldham are throwing a lot of money at players, as I mentioned 2 minutes ago. How long can they sustain that for?
Well, they've got an owner who's fully invested by all accounts.
But how long's he invested for if they are a Super League club? There's so much that can go wrong, and it just feels rushed, it feels forced, and it doesn't feel right. But it is obviously the biggest talking point.
I feel like we're going to have a league that's split into 2 leagues. You're going to have the likes of, hopefully, Hull up there next season, Wire, Leeds, Lee, Rovers, Wigan, Saints, and then you could have another group below it. For argument's sake, Bradford and York come up. Bradford, York, Huddersfield, Salford. These teams, and there could be a huge gulf. no, that's not good for the game. We want a competitive league where between top and bottom, you're looking at no more than 10, 15 points in a season.
Yeah.
Probably what happened, but
we've got plenty of time to talk about it, over the next couple of months as we see players come through. I'm going to put a stop to it because we are really short for time. Craig's got to get off to go to work. We've got maybe 3-4 minutes to run through predictions. If you've got time for that.
We don't need to preview anyways, because for us it should be another training exercise. Essentially, Casford are really poor.
Hopefully the same for us.
For you guys, you're playing Salford, so I don't think there's much to be gained
Price
from
and
discussing it.
back hopefully.
So we'll skip predictions. We're just going to do. Sorry, we'll skip previews. We're just going to do
So
predictions.
the only thing for us is May missing. Who's going to come in? Probably Litton.
Oh no, I ain't going to go on to this, but I want Morg to play in May in the halves in May's position at the weekend. I think it's the best choice. That's the best choice we've got. He's a good half-back, and then we've got plenty of options in people to go at full-back. So that's what I'd like to see.
Fair. Right, so starting off the fixtures this week over at the LSV, Lee versus Leeds. I've gone for Lee by 14.
Lee by 8.
Lee by 7.
Lee by 8.
And Susan's got Lee by 13.
Pretty close.
My pen's
Do
running
love
out.
an odd number.
Yeah, well, we'll get on to them. I wrote down Wire next, but it's not, is it? It's Wakefield Saints. So Wakefield Saints over at the DIY Kitchens. I've gone a bit left field here. Wakefield by 7.
Wakey by 10.
All right, maybe not.
Wakey by 1.
Ooh.
I've gone Saints by 6.
My thinking is, just quickly,
Susan's
I think
also
it's
got
going to be
Saints by
that
6.
close that if Saints do nick it, I still get me half a point.
Susan's also got St Helens by 6.
Nice. Great minds.
Or your twos. Over at the Aliwell Jones, Wire versus Warrington. No, Wire versus Wigan. God, I'm still half asleep.
I think Warrington will win that.
Do you reckon? Warrington versus Warrington? Be close. To be fair, Warrington at the minute could play dustbins and still lose.
Probably.
I've gone for Wigan by 10.
Yeah, Wire by 4. Every time this year, like last week when I said I want to back Huddersfield because I think they'll beat Hull, didn't do it. When I was like, I think Hull will turn Wigan over, all these things. I don't know. I'm
Go
ready
where
to
you
be
got
super.
this week.
Plus, I've got points to play with on you boys. So.
You have.
I'm interested in this Wakefield Saints game now because me and Jimmy have gone opposites and there's only half a point between us.
I do think we said it recently quite a lot. I know we're running out short of time, but this has been a very tough week to pick.
One, I could have gone either way on this because I don't know what Wigan's going to turn up. If Wigan turn up, then you expect him to win. But Wire went bad for large parts of that game on Thursday or Friday or whatever night it was. And Lee are on form.
There's an argument to be made that one of Lee's tries wasn't a try, and therefore Wire have won that game.
Yeah, but they didn't. Wigan by 5.
Wigan by 16.
Way by 5.
Which I think is the realistic one. I think I'm a little bit hopeful.
Susan's got Wigan by 11. On Saturday then, Rovers versus Castleford at Sulgroup Craven Park. I've got Rovers by 28.
Rovers by 32.
Rovers by 30.
Rovers by 26.
And Susan's got Castleford. No, yeah. He's got Rovers by 21.
You're just doing odd numbers every week now for every game.
Apart from the Wakefield Saints game.
Apart from the Wakefield Saints, yeah. Fair enough.
Over at the what was John Smith's?
Yeah, what is it now?
John Smith's? Alfred. Oh no, it was Alfred McAlpine.
No, it's changed again, I think.
Oh, is it? Oh, it's John Smith's, anyways.
The home of Rugby League.
George Hotel.
Huddersfield Catalan. So I was speaking with Jake about this one earlier.
Oh,
Susan, sorry. I've ruined the illusion now, haven't I? But anyways, I backed Huddersfield at Catalan. I'm going to back Huddersfield again. Obviously, I fell flat on my face because Catalan won 32-0 or 34-0, whatever it was. But I've gone for Huddersfield again with virtue of Catalan are travelling. They've been very poor. 1 win in the last 15. Huddersfield by 10.
I was quite impressed by Catalan against Wigan. I think Catalan will win this. Catalan by 10.
Huddersfield by 10.
Huddersfield by 16.
And Susan has Huddersfield by 7.
Oh, I could pick up a point on all of you there.
Well, it doesn't really matter anyway, does it? It's
I fancy you more
You're
to pick up a
clear.
point against Wigan Wire than that one. But yeah, like you said, you got points to play with.
Finally, rounding off the weekend over at the Circle, we've got Hull versus Salford. I've got Hull by 38
Generous.
on Salford.
I've got FC by 26. I think that's a good reflection of what I think will happen. I think you'll turn up enough to do them. I think you do struggle sometimes to turn up against those smaller clubs, and that's why I don't think you are good enough to put 40 on them. I actually think they might nick a try or two, and I think FC by 26 is fair in my opinion.
I think we'll bounce back. We've bounced back well after losses this year. Sometimes we haven't won, but we've always seen a good response after losses. A week off, a big response after the Huddersfield loss. I've got Hull by 45.
45.
Wow.
To be fair, you having said now Asiata and Price are back.
And you blew raspberries at me for 38.
Yeah.
I've gone FC by 30, trying to be a bit more realistic, but there always is that chance that someone like Asiata and Price will come back and Price might just rip them apart. You never know.
Before
Price has got the ability, if he's fit and he's back, against... Look how we tore him apart last week.
Yeah.
We could run Ulster everywhere. Price is quick. He can't defend, but he's quick.
That's all
and
he's
so
got.
he
It's like Jai
should
Field.
be, if he's fit, he should be through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And our defensive line should be able to hold them enough that he doesn't have to worry
And
about
you should be
defending
clicking
so
if Asiata's back in the middle
Yeah.
rather than...
I feel like I'm going safe, but I'd rather go safe. So yeah, FC by 30.
Salford's. No.
much.
Susan has Hull by 37.
Cool. Right, because we're in a rush, we're just going to go real quick. So yeah, thanks again to Comscaf for sponsoring. Thanks again for Tribal for letting us in. And yeah, we'll be back
you.
next week. No more weeks off. So yeah, back next week.
Oh. All right,
What?
okay. Well, I thought it was a
Well,
fortnight.
Dean has.
See you in
Dean's got
3
a week
weeks.
off, yeah. So yeah.
Got to.
See you. Bye.
See you, bye.
See you, bye.
See you, bye.